Yeah, great.
Uh,
Great, great. Yes, we are
Perfect.
live now. Yes, that's
Yeah,
great.
hi.
So, yes. Hi, everyone, and welcome to yet another amazing discussion at Blue Circle Workshops. And as you already know from the title that we are going to talk about a very, very interesting topic which affects the majority of the population living with diabetes here. So we are going to talk about marriage and diabetes and how it impacts our daily lives and different stories about it. And we have three amazing couples here. So before we get ahead and jump onto the discussions, you can add your comments, like questions or like comments or your stories in the comment section here, and we will take them after the workshop maybe. And for those of you all who don't know me, I am Snehal, person living with type 1 diabetes in the last 22 years. And I'll let our other couples introduce themselves, maybe a brief introduction of who you are, what type of diabetes you live with, how long you have been married. So let's start with Nishtha and Sunneith.
Hi guys, I'm Nishtha. This is Sunneith. I am type 1.5 diabetic. I've been diabetic for 10 years, diagnosed 1.5 since the past 3.5 years or so. And we've been married for just above 5 years. Sunneith's non-diabetic.
Sunneith, you can also introduce yourself and what you do and like.
Sure.
Hi, I'm Sunneith. I work in advertising. I'm also a musician. Yeah, just happy to be here.
Great. Rinkal and Hemal, over to you.
Hi, I'm Hemal. Uh, I am a very proud husband of a type 1 diabetic, and we've been married since the last 13 years. And she was not diabetic when we had married. She was diagnosed to be diabetic when we were planning for a kid. So that's how it is. Our son is a diabetic. He is a neonatal diabetic, and he has a gene mutation and such. So that's how it has been.
Yeah. Hi, this is Rinkal, type 1 diabetes since 10 years. Yeah.
Great, great. Gilmerio and Sai.
Hi, I'm Gilmerio. I've been a type 1 diabetic since the age of 10. It's been 28 years now. And yeah, I think that's my story. I'm on insulin pump therapy as well. This is my wife, Sai. So,
Hi, I'm Sai. I'm non-diabetic. I We have been married for the past 1 year now. Dated for around two, and we met. We worked in the same office. That's where we met.
company
And
event.
company event. Yeah, yeah.
Yay to company events, like where you meet your
Really,
future
really.
husband. Yeah, okay, so we'll jump right into the discussion and the questions that we have on board. So the first question for all of you would be, like, especially for the diabetic spouses, is that what were the problems, or if there were any problems that you're facing when you're looking to get married. So I want to hear first from our diabetic spouses. So Gilmary, would you like to start?
Okay, so technically, in terms of problems per se, I wasn't really out looking for anybody, to be honest, because I had this entire mindset that, okay, well, I'm diabetic now. That's how it is. That's how I'm going to survive. If somebody comes in, I've just been very open with who I am, how that goes, and what the person that I am. But I think problems more, maybe say, would want to
You can
go
say
through.
it.
Okay. So, I mean, her family was completely against us getting married because of diabetes being one of those things. Plus, we come from different ethnic backgrounds. That was something else which created problems for the family, adding to the diabetes. But I think understanding each other is what got us to where we are. Understanding what we want from life, what we want from a partner, that's what got us here. So,
Okay, great. But then, Sai, how was your reaction when you came to know that Gilmerio is someone who's living with type 1? Like, before even you
Um,
thought about marriage, like, first when you
right.
met Gilmerio and you knew that he's living with type 1, so what was your reaction?
Right, right. So honestly, on our first date, he was very clear about his diabetes, and he told me everything about it. And for some reason, I'm not sure why, but I did not react to it, or I did not treat it as any disease that's going to affect anything. I was very, very okay with diabetes at that time, and we have been of both of us have been of that thinking. But because you asked about a challenge that we faced before we got married, I'd just like to say one more thing. uh, while we were dating, so before we got married, I had to learn, since he's on insulin pump, so I had to learn everything about the pump. So when his sugars used to go down, I had to stop the bolus. When they went high, I had to give more dose. Cases like that. So that is something that I learned, and was a little bit challenging for me to understand everything. So that's one of the challenge I think that I faced. But yeah.
But how did you deal with it? Like you said, it was challenging. But now, like after being married for a year or so, like how are you handling the diabetes tech per se?
So now I'm a pro. Now you can ask me anything, I'll tell you everything. I know. I've learned everything now.
That's great. That's good to know. I mean, the reason why I'm asking this is because like, a lot of people just go with the idea that it's going to be rocket science, and I cannot understand what the other person's condition is. But like you said, that I and every and look, no one can deny that it's difficult at the start. Like it
Yeah,
may feel like rocket science, but
yeah,
once you get to live with that person and you understand the condition better, I think it gets easier and gets better for the both of you involved in that relationship. So thanks
yeah.
for highlighting that. Let's move on to Rinkal and Hemal. I think their story is a little different because Rinkal was diagnosed when they were planning for a kid. Uh, what was your realization, Rinkal? Like when you know that you have been diagnosed with type one.
So my story says is previously by birth I had an open heart surgery. I had a heart problem and an aneurysm in my brain. So that was cured completely. I was on no medications by then when I started to find a soulmate. So when he came across, it was a pure arranged marriage, and I told him very openly with giving him the current reports as well that look, I am with this condition in my past. There's nothing currently. But I mean, I am not on any kind of medications. What was happened is just cured. It was just like having a fracture and getting it cured. So my state was at that level. And then he accepted. He said, I don't mind, dealing with this. What if, anything going ahead? Yeah, let him continue.
The thing was that ours was as she said, ours was a pure arranged marriage. So it was like kundli milawing and all that stuff. So along with that kundli, we also her parents had, and they had also disclosed that she had this medical condition since birth, and we don't want to sort of
Hide
hide anything from you
anything.
and all that stuff. So I was very clear that there is a girl who is disclosing everything, and it's a major thing, and they're disclosing it. I wouldn't have come to know about this thing if they had it been that they had not disclosed it to me. And second thing is that as a way of life, what it has been my way of life that just move ahead, let's face whatever it comes. What is that if you have 100% healthy partner, but even just after a week of marriage, if you come to know that no, she has faced some problem, and how will you handle it? You have to still go ahead with it, right? So other things were matching. It's very difficult these days that you have a person, a partner with like-minded frequency and all that. So all other things were matching. So I said, let's go ahead with it. Let's not make an issue out of it. And when after 2 years of marriage, when we came to know that she has been diagnosed with diabetes, she was completely broken, like why only me and all that stuff. A typical reaction that everybody has.
Yeah.
uh, we feel that okay, diabetes ho gaya, life khatam ho gaya, ye ho gaya, wo ho gaya, why only me, why is god doing everything to me and all that. But then somehow we came out of it, we accepted it, and we moved ahead. So that was how it was. Only that there was some new jargon that we came to know, like Sai said about boluses and pumps and insulins and pancreas. We never knew that pancreas is a part of our body, is an essential part of our body until unless
We really got into
as a child, we nobody taught us about pancreas. In school it was all heart, brain and stomach and liver and kidneys. Nobody knew that pancreas existed. But it was only after diagnosing of insulin that we came to know about a new part of our body. So that's how it was.
the best part was, I would like to share. He told me the simplest thing. What if I could get? Would you give up on me? No, we would deal. So it could be anybody. We feel blessed that we know each other. We have sources now. We are educated that we can reach to sources. We can find out things we can work on. We can implement on ourselves. So that's how we had to deal it.
But again, one question for you, Rinkal. Like you said, like most of the things that you were diagnosed and like you went through that cycle of questions, which is quite normal for
Yeah.
everyone who's diagnosed with any type of diabetes, I would say. But for you, like what was the one thing that helped you to come out of it? I know like Hemal's support was already there, but for you as a person, like how did you manage to accept it and like how did you manage to move out of that?
So when I heard stories about me being when I was operated when I was just 4 years old with my open heart surgery, I was kept on ventilators for 48 hours. Things were not responding. So it was just like as a challenging. अभी वो सब में से निकल गए हैं तो अभी ये क्या चीज है इसमें से भी निकल जाएंगे. So initially we always have that we'll try and we'll reverse it back. तो ये तो कुछ भी नहीं है इसको तो मैं भगा ही देने वाली हूँ आई एम नॉट गोइंग टू लिव विथ इट सो इनिशियली दैट fighting phase is there to face that was there. So starting with the salads, exercise, everything would just boost up. And I'm not going to live with diabetes. This is just a temporary phase for me. But gradually, when you go deeper, you come to know, sorry, this type 1 is or type 2 is not that very easy to get it reversed. And the consequences then came up. So we had to then accept it like, okay, we are going to live with it, but we have to manage it the best way that we can.
So the first step I feel is to accept whatever it is and move ahead with it. Because the kind of lifestyles we follow these days, I'm sure sooner or later everybody is going to get this disease. And it's a boon that you are marrying or you're marrying a diabetic person, because now you that half knowledge is there, that what to avoid, what to not avoid, how to go about it. So it's a boon in a way. It's a blessing in disguise that 50% chances of yourself getting diabetes is now
lesser. So he
And it's
himself
easier
starts
said than done,
following my food, my diet.
That's perfect. And like when we talk about diabetes, it's very easy to say कि क्या ही करना है, खाना ये खाओ बराबर से exercise करो. But we all know that these are the simple words. It's very difficult to do them consistently in a disciplined manner. But you're very right. I think that approach towards life, what you said, Hemal, is like accept it and like move on. That I think all of us like need constant reminders of that. Yeah. Okay. And we will also talk about your son's conditions in the next questions again. But over to you, Nishtha and Sunneith.
So yeah, very similar to Gilmerio. Like I think I went into the mindset of I have diabetes, and I was very vocal about it. Say online with my friends, and it almost felt like I was carrying this agenda that मुझे सबको educate करके रहना है. So I was never going to hide it from anybody, especially not a potential partner. So Sunneith obviously knew about the fact that I had diabetes from the very beginning, and of course he didn't it didn't matter to him like at all. It didn't come up more than him asking how you're dealing with it, etc., etc. Although he tried to like impress me by sending a couple of cupcakes here and there to office, but that was okay. And I think he soon after we got married, he turned into the whole This change from dating to marriage. Now he's like, don't touch it. You shouldn't be touching it. I'm like, you used to send me all these cupcakes and everything. So apart from that, honestly, it's not. It was never. It was very smooth sailing, especially with Sunneith, and he's been ultra supportive throughout this because initially I was misdiagnosed as type 2, and when we got married I was still on type 2 medication, and it was only around the lockdown when I started feeling like things were not very right with me, and it felt like when I went for a re-diagnosis and I was given a type 1.5 diagnosis, it felt like I was being told I have diabetes all over again, right? And because it's a big
Yeah.
shift from being on like oral medications to insulin, and at that time I was distraught. I was all over the place. I tried to change everything together, and that was when I think Sanat was like standing by me constantly, making sure I was not like straying from my path at all, and even like going as far as making sure his lifestyle is also like sort of changing a bit to be accustomed to mine. So that was mainly like a short this thing, but yeah, like you, if you have to say anything about it.
Yeah. So,
Yeah,
like
but
she
what
said,
else would you
it
say,
really
Sunneith?
matters.
Yeah.
Sorry, Snehal. Continue.
Oh, wow.
Oh, so
Go ahead, go ahead. I was just asking you what are your thoughts?
sure. So it didn't matter, like Nishtha said. Obviously, uh, like Rinkal and Hemal have mentioned, obviously the body of knowledge about diabetes, it's kind of gotten larger for me over the years as I've come to know, because but then I knew the bare base truths of what it means to be a diabetic, and from a very 30,000 feet lens, it didn't really get in the way. I knew what it meant in the long term. I knew what it meant in the short term. I knew what kind of lifestyle changes are required for a diabetic, for them to make. And as far as getting married as a decision is concerned, it didn't really figure in the decision making at all. For me, I was absolutely sure. There was obviously acknowledgement of the fact that she's diabetic, and like, yeah, sure, we'll work through it. But as far as the decision making is concerned, I think the only time it was brought up was when Nishtha's father. This is one of those meetings where you ask her parents for her hand in marriage. This was one of those conversations, and I think that was the first time it was brought up by her father. Her father is a diabetic as well, and he said, "Look, do you know that she's diabetic?" I said, "Yeah, I do know." And he straight up asked me, "Are you sure you want to go ahead with it? Because this has repercussions. This may change a few things. Maybe in the future she may not be able to hold down a day job. She may have to take a sabbatical." And I said, I'm absolutely fine with that. So that was actually the only time it was brought up, and we were both very clear of the fact that it's something that we'll have to work through. It's not a hindrance. It's not something that changes how we feel about each other. It definitely did not change how I wanted to approach the whole getting married and making a life together aspect of it.
So thanks for touching base on that, asking your partner's hand in marriage thing, because my next question is on that. Like we all know, like the three of you, the three couples here, like they have spoken about what each of them feels about their whole relationship and the whole approaching the marriage funda. But the like when you're talking about marriages, especially in India, there's a lot of um, comments or like concerns raised by your family, your relatives, your neighbors, maybe so, Nishtha and Sunit, did you face any other challenges? Like you talked about Nishtha's father, like bringing up that, but from your side of the family or like from your friends, like did you hear any comments or like were they apprehensive of you going ahead with this marriage?
It was almost cosmic because my dad's a diabetic as well. In fact, Nishtha's played a rather large role in the whole, doing away with certain myths and the whole WhatsApp gang that our parents are susceptible to. So it was acknowledged that, look, this condition exists, and the two kids have decided to go on to make this decision, and they were fairly supportive. That wasn't an issue at all.
In fact, I think his dad and I bonded over the fact that we have diabetes. And the first time we met, we were like, "Arey, how much is your A1C and how much is my A1C?" very unlike like a first time meeting your potential spouse's parents wala situation. So it was quite funny. If somebody was overhearing our conversation that day, they would just be like, "Kya chal raha hai yahan pe?" So damn weird.
लोग कुंडली मैच करते हैं, यहाँ पे फैमिलीज मैच हो रही है.
Oh, that's good. That's good. So, what about you? That's a fun discussion to have, like what you eat and like what's your HB1C and how are you managing. It's a fun discussion to have. So, yeah. What about you, Rinkal and Hemal? I think you talked about your like arranged wedding situation, but when Rinkal was diagnosed, like, did you get any comments or like concerns from friends or families?
No, not really as such. In fact, it was the same at my side as well, because I am the third child of my parents, so even they are aged, and they have both of them have diabetes. So obviously, but being 60, 70, 70 plus, they don't take it that seriously. It is like, अब क्या होना है ज्यादा से ज्यादा, अगर जाना है तो खा पी के जाएंगे, ऐसे ही रुक रुक के नहीं जाएंगे. So they are like, they knew what it is. So it's like, अभी नहीं तो कभी 5 साल के बाद, 10 साल के बाद भी होगा, तभी भी हमको फेस करना ही है. So let's face it. And right now, she's young, you guys are young, so you are in a better position to face it than probably 10 years down the line. So I'm actually very lucky to have such a family by my side as well.
True,
But
true.
her side, her parents are completely fit, so
It was a shock from my side of family, but rather anybody till date, nobody was there to pinpoint ke ऐसी लड़की है या ऐसी बहू है या anybody. They all have just supported me to the core of it. Whatever changes I get in is a family diet plans or in the kitchens, everything they've been supporting me for each and everything. So it was a very good thing from his side. That is the basic reason where a diabetic can come out, overcome all of those why me's and cursing yourself about. So this is the highlighted line that you need that at that period of time that support is required for you to get out of all of that. And I got that. I'm a lucky one.
That's great. That's good to know. What about you, Gilmerio and Sai?
So, well, I don't know. I think families are mostly more apprehensive about a lot of things when it comes to giving your daughter away to somebody who is diabetic
Yeah.
and along those thoughts. So, I think more than anything else, what we needed to prove, not just to them, but to ourselves as well, is that we can manage and take care of ourselves. So, I had this very simple logic, and this is what I told Say. It's like, my diabetes, I'll take care of it. You just have to figure out and know when something goes wrong, what needs to be done. The rest of it, I'll take care of it by myself. You have nothing to worry about. And we just decided that, the less we keep other people involved in our lives with the way you think about parents and other family members and what their decisions are, they have their own personal experiences, their own decisions. So it should not influence our decisions. We can make our own decisions, we can make our own mistakes, and we can learn from those mistakes to be better. So that's how we went figuring that out.
Yeah, because my parents
Good. Good
actually
to
it
know.
was a
Sai,
shock
your
because
thoughts?
sorry.
Yeah, there's slight delay. Huh.
Yeah. Yeah, so as I was saying, it was a bit of a shock because both my parents are diabetic. But when they got to know that Gilmerio was also a diabetic, they did not approve of him, and they did not want me to get married to him, or rather, even date him. So that's like a Karan Johar movie altogether. So like I had to like run away and get married to him. But yeah, so it's they were not very supportive, but that's what happens like Indian families, that mentality, oh no, he has
Okay.
diabetes.
Good.
But yeah.
Yeah. But good to know that you stuck to each other and you were very clear on what you wanted and like you took that relationship ahead. So kudos to that. Okay. Now we will go on to, I think, everyone's favorite question when we talk about diabetes and marriage is having kids. So there are a lot of myths, a lot of random WhatsApp messages that float around having kids and stuff. So I'll share one of the research that is there about type 1 and type 2 spouses, or like one of the spouse having like planning for kids. I'll share one of the statement from the research, but I would like to hear your thoughts, and like if you're planning to have kids, and what are your opinions or like on that. But before that, I'll just share. So this is one of the research papers, I think, from ADA, if I'm not wrong. So if a man has type 1 diabetes, the chances of the child having type 1 is 1 in 17, versus if the woman has type 1 diabetes, um, and it's over the age of 25, the chance that the child will have type 1 is 1 in 100, basically. And if both the parents have type 1 diabetes, the chances that the child will have type 1 is anywhere between 1 in 10 or 1 in 4. So it is a very varied probability that is shared by the research. And for type 2 diabetics, if any one of the spouse is living with type 2, and or if they have a family history of type 2, lifestyle changes, like we talked about, exercise, diet, regularly monitoring your condition, or like regularly checking yourself, it can help prevent type 2 diabetes despite having a family history of it. So there were a couple of questions that came up in the chat, is like, what are the facts about planning kids and like having kids. But over to you guys now, like I want to hear your personal views and like comments on that. So we will come to Rinkal and Hemal at the last, because I know they will have a lot to share on it because they already have a kid. But Nishtha and Sunneith, let's start with you.
So, I mean, we've obviously discussed having or not having kids at some point, and at the moment we are not in the space of frame of mind to have kids and stuff like that. So the point of me being living with diabetes doesn't usually occur. Of course, I have over the years thought about uh, if I do have a child, will the pregnancy be like complicated? Will it be problematic because I have diabetes? Will there is there a risk of passing it on to my child and stuff like that? And that has usually been a deterrent to me, both the pregnancy and the maybe passing on the diabetes to the child aspect. So, but luckily, I think both Sanat and I are on the same page that we don't really we want to be child free. So that kind of like put an end to what ifs and how will that go and stuff like that. So that's where we were at.
Thanks for sharing that, because I know a lot of, like, even if one of the spouse is living with any type of diabetes, these are the questions that frequently get in your head.
Yeah,
Like, what if you pass
yeah,
on the condition to your child, or like if it occurs later, or like, is the pregnancy going to be difficult? And most of the time it's very difficult for the woman in that relationship, because she has to undergo all of those body changes and like deal with the entire emotional cycle change and sleep cycle change and everything. And that's why I feel it's very important that women in general are more aware of how their body is going to change, or how their life is going to change. Like pregnancy in general will change everything, but living with a
again.
condition like diabetes, like it's important for women to be empowered and make that informed decision of if and whether they want to plan ahead, and like, or if they don't want to plan it. So thanks for highlighting that. Gilmerio and Sai, your thoughts?
So I think we have very similar thoughts, like with Nishtha, that she just pointed out as well. Because I mean, I think one of the first discussions that we did have while we were talking about a lot of these things about being diabetic is also about children and how this works. And we both surprisingly came to the conclusion that we both didn't want to have children, and that was also maybe one of the factors why we ended up with each other, to be all honest. Because most of the, like, I don't know, maybe it's the Indian mentality or how people are or what their parents think, is like, if I don't have a child, this life means nothing. but your life means so much more also, and you can want to do things for yourself, and you might also not want to, you know, pass on something. Like I knew while I was growing up being a diabetic, how difficult it was for me with other children while they were having their set of chocolates and other things. And as a type 1, I couldn't really. And I went through life going, why the whole, why did God do this to me? Why did this happen? Personally, I don't think I would be okay with inflicting that on my own child, to have to question these things, like, didn't my parents know any better, for example? So my mind has always been that I don't really think I want to pass that on to a child. But if our plans do change in the future, things like that happen. Something else that we've discussed about is there are so many children, loving, healthy, beautiful children who deserve houses. You can just adopt a child if you really want to look after someone, and you can give them a beautiful home, train them with the same values that you have, maybe even better. There are things that they will learn from you and you will learn from them. So, just being diabetic doesn't mean that parenthood can't be something that you can experience. You can always adopt, you can always go ahead with that if you have these fears about passing on diabetes as such, to your child or things like that. But I think our take on it
Yeah.
is, yeah,
Yeah.
and now we are good, just the two of us, and we're very happy. So yeah, maybe a dog, I don't know.
Yes, thanks for highlighting and touching base on this very important topic of adoption. Like most of the time, like we have met like a couple of people who are like pressured, like the family and their relatives, they pressure them to have kids when they are not in like mentally or physically in that space to maybe have a kid. But it's important that you talked about the adoption thing, because somehow we know it's there, but if you're planning for a kid and you don't want to have a kid, this option never just comes up in our head by default. Like it's just like it's a forgotten topic. But thanks for touching base on that. So we'll move on to Rinkal and Hemal. I know they will have a lot to talk about this because they have a kid together, and like when he was diagnosed, and like first let's start with what are your thoughts on like diabetes and like having kids.
So, just a year before, 2013, I was diagnosed as type 2, and I was put on medications as well as insulin pens by that then. And that's how I went. And I had completely, we both, in fact, had completely stopped the topic of let's not think anything about the child right now. Let's just focus on our health. That's more important. And post a year, everything I got everything into the normalization of having or living with the diabetes, accepting myself the way I was. Post then, my doctor, my gynac, and my endocrine, they both suggested that you are somebody who could be as a normal mother too. So there is nothing that you can pass it on or you cannot pass it on. It's absolutely your normal. And if a normal pregnancy happens, even a normal parent who are non-diabetic can the kid have the kid also can get those genes of having a diabetes. So it's nothing to do with your diabetes to the child. That's what I was being explained very clearly. And that's when we thought that okay, fine, if that's the scenario, we should try going ahead. And if not, if we feel that we are not confident enough, we both of us too were very open to adopt a child. But God had to give us something else, and He gave us. And today, one more thing I want to share is uh, my child being a born diabetic with type 1. It's called a neonatal diabetic. It was very difficult for us to understand also what that exactly what that was, and how should I go with a child and
Yeah.
everything. But we just had to accept the child. No matter whatever it was, we accepted the child, and we came out of it with many flying colors. Today we feel we are proud, and we thank God to send us this special child, because I think nobody else could have taken that care, the amount that we think being knowledgeable to this, maybe even if a non-diabetic parent would have got a child like this, so it would have been more difficult for them to accept it also. So that's how. You want to say something?
See, first of all, it was very clear that we wanted to have a child.
Yeah.
So we were clear on that because, uh, having known her physical condition, we knew that okay, there was a possibility of a kid. I mean, even when she was not diabetic, there was a possibility that the child could have
Any other kind of a
a
problem,
heart disorder
problem.
as well. But that chance was, as equal as a child,
A healthy mother giving a birth to a normal child.
normal child. So it was like that. Obviously, when she was diagnosed diabetes, we stopped thinking about it. We focused on her health first. We said that okay, let's get things in line. We took around 1.5, 2 years, good 2 years to settle that thing, and then after consultation with the doctors and all, we went ahead. Uh, we we never knew that things would change so much, but that, yeah, again we move forward. uh, when we say today that our child has a neonatal diabetes, again there is a special star mark to it as well. He has a genetic disorder which is only first of its kind in India. So he is the first of its kind reported case in India, and only the eighth case all over the world. So when he was diagnosed for diabetes, his tests were sent to England, uh, at a university. It's called Exeter University. It is for genetic testing, and some tests were done, and they could find out that okay, this is like only the eighth case in India. So we started calling him the eighth wonder of the world. Okay, and even today, his
Wow.
we go to his endocrinologist every 3 months, and his case is reported. Okay, so whatever line of treatment is followed for him, उसके बाद जो हुए हैं उनको सेम लाइन ऑफ ट्रीटमेंट फॉलो होता है, बिकॉज द एल्डेस्ट लिविंग केस ऑफ हिज टाइप ऑफ डायबिटीज इज ओनली like 15-year-old right now. So he is 10-year-old. उसके बाद जो हुए हैं, उसके बाद 2 या 3 केस हुए हैं. One is in Sri Lanka, 2 are in Pakistan, 1 in Bangladesh, I guess. So the doctor, all these doctors, they meet globally for some kind of a meet of theirs, or they are connected to each other. So they said that whatever line of treatment we are following for Jiansh, we are following for all these kids as well. And it's a kind of a sort of subject for them now. What we called in Munnabai MBBS subject. So it's like that, and we, positively, we think that we are proud of taking care of such a child, and spiritually, if we see, we think that even God knew that we could take care of such a special child. That's why He has given it to us. Otherwise, He wouldn't have given us such kind. So that's how we are going about it. And today we are happy that even at 9-year-old, he is taking care of himself up to a certain level. He is on insulin pump. I know he knows to
operate it very well.
He knows
boluses, bases. He can manage and can operate it very well. Is the only part of changing the setters is to be done by me, but that also gradually says, Mama, now I will learn. By 10 years, I have to be independent, and we go good about it. He's able to take care of his diets, chocolates, because it's very difficult for us to literally help him get out of it. And people in our community and our state, any elder coming and visiting, is the first thing is offered is chocolates. So it becomes difficult, but then he knows that, Mama, I have to take my care, no? So he accepts it, and he returns it with the same hand, saying, thank you so much, I have accepted your sweet, but I'm not allowed to eat, so I don't want to. Thank you. And he reverts it back to me.
Or else he'll keep it with him, and he'll say that, okay, whenever I'm low on sugars or all, that I'll eat it that time, and I'll not eat right now. So it's like
he
that.
Understands, and that's what we are gradually putting
That's
him.
wonderful. That's wonderful.
So we want him to be independent because I'm having a diabetic this thing. So we don't want to mess three lives together. Let's all be independent. Let's all be together, and try and focus on our health. That's more important than anything else. Going ahead and supporting each other. Yeah.
True, true. And I would like to thank you both, for talking so openly about this, the condition your son is living with, and like how you were mentally you took that informed decision that you want to have kids, and then how you planned through it. So I think it's an eye opener for a lot of people in the community, in the group, who are like planning to have kids and they are having the same thought. So thank you so much for talking about this. And like you
One
said,
more
like
thing.
also I would like to highlight that yeah, go ahead.
So one more thing. See, people are going to speak कि माँ को आया तो बेटे को आया. All of those talks are going to happen. But God has fortunately given us 2 years. And it just passes it off. That's it. I don't get it inside. For us, we both, nor my father-in-law, my parents, my near and dear ones, we just ignore that as if it's just like past air. That's it. So you feel that yes, that person is trying to
Yeah.
pinpoint you that हाँ माँ को आया, बेटे को दिया, माँ भी ऐसी है, बेटा भी वैसा है. So, but it does not affect us. We have to be that strong, that independent, that this is who I am. Once that acceptance has come, no, Sneha, nothing will change you. Nothing will change you.
Thank you so
See,
much for
people
highlighting
have their
such an
own
important
people.
topic,
People.
like having a positive mindset and like, go ahead, Hemal.
See, people have their own ideologies. Every individual has their, even two healthy couples nowadays. We've come across so many married couples who don't want to have child. So it's all their own prerogative as such. But we just want to say that if we are stopping, if at all one person thinking goes in that way, that just because we have diabetes we don't want to plan a thing, then I should say that we should go ahead with it, and let's not stop ourselves from being a parent just because we have diabetes. Otherwise it's our own prerogative
Personal
as such,
choice.
personal
Yeah.
choice as such. But just because we are diabetic we should not stop
Suppress our
ourselves from.
feeling of having a parenthood, or if we are liking the child or anything, should not stop us. We need to get ourselves, firstly, we should accept ourselves completely. Then
Because
only you can,
because see, spiritually it's a creation, okay, and this is a big creation that we are doing, and it's a very big thing to give birth to a living being, and we
nurturing.
say in our we are Jains, so we follow a lot of spiritual things as such, and we say that we get human life in 84 crore years, no? Uske baad you'll either become a dog or any other creature, a dog, a cat or something, but it's a blessing to be a human being and to give birth to another human being. It's a very 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 big karma, good karma that you're building up. So we all think of doing good karmas. This
Thanks,
is the
Hemal.
biggest karma that we can do in our life.
Thanks, Hemal. Thanks also for touching on that aspect of spirituality, because we know a lot of
Yeah.
couples and a lot of families here, especially in India, they follow this. So thank you for highlighting that. And also we are in the comments we are getting a lot of appreciation about talking all of these topics. Like we touch base upon adoption, and like to Rinkal and Hemal, both of you, to talking so openly about the condition that you, and how did you went through that planning, and then accepting your child's condition as well. So thank you everyone, like all the three of you, three couples here, for touching base on these topics. And we know that these are like bit difficult topics, like you don't usually sit and talk when you're like meeting your friends or like in between families. So thank you so much for sharing this personal journey with us. And like we said, like there's one comment from I think Rajiv, So he's been type 1 since 1961, and he's married.
Oh,
He has kids, one daughter and one son, and both of them don't have diabetes. And I think he has grandkids also, and they are also not diabetic. So it, like, I personally feel that diabetes can happen to anyone at any point of time,
Anything.
irrespective
True.
of whether it runs in your family or if one of the spouse is diabetic or not diabetic. If it has to happen, it's going to happen. Like, and then you can just sit and figure out the reason कि ये क्यों हुआ, कैसे हुआ. But I think instead of just figuring that out, you can put your energy in accepting the condition and like moving ahead with what you have to live with, right? But there are like lot of couples we know that their kids have type 1 and no family history of diabetes anywhere, like on the maternal side or on the paternal side. So thank you so much for, and I will take a couple of comments from here, like on the comment section. So Mohit says a positive mindset like yours can move mountains. In fact, it has already moved, like you said, for Rinkal and Hemal, you talked about your son as the eighth wonder, so that's great. uh, yeah, and Ashlesha highlights again that when you talk about getting married with your friends, families, or relatives, the first question they ask is usually if your kid will also have diabetes. I think we talked about that. uh, and lot of positive comments for all the three couples here. I think you can just go back and like just check the comments back. We'll move on to our next question. Is like we touched base a lot upon how each of your chemistry works and like how did you deal with that. But let's talk a little bit more of your everyday life, like food, exercise, or insurance, or financial expenses. So I want to hear from each of you of how do you deal with that, or how your everyday life looks like living with a spouse who has diabetes. So let's start with Nishtha and Sunneith.
Yeah. Uh, so to be honest, I strongly believe that once you get married to someone and once you start living with that person, there are some minor changes that you'll have to make anyway. In fact, both of you will have to make those changes. Uh, are there adjustments? No, there are minor tweaks that I've had to make to my lifestyle, and same with her. Uh, these weren't drastic enough for them to be called like, oh, badal jayega sab kuch, ye hoga wo hoga. It's none of that. It's just small tweaks to your existing lifestyle. You don't have to completely stop doing what you're comfortable with. You can still live the life that you had before you got married, and also it's a shared experience now. So there are changes on both ends. Does the condition figure in a large way as far as day to day is concerned? Not so much. But those minor tweaks kind of, I've realized that they've started helping me as well. So Nishtha is very disciplined. She has a very properly manned schedule. Even on the weekends, weekdays, she plans her day very well. She plans her meals very well, and I think that's kind of trickled down into my life as well. And so that's, I kind of I kind of look at it as a positive thing. These smaller changes, and honestly, I don't mean to trivialize the condition, but it's almost like you living with or you getting married to someone who has a pet, right? So obviously that pet is going to be there in your partner's life. It's not going to go away, but you have to make those small adjustments to make sure that your partner is comfortable and the pet is also managed in a certain way such that it's healthy and everything is copacetic.
As far as like finances and insurance etc is concerned, actually we do not have like a common insurance plan as of now, but like we've been thinking about it, so let's see how that goes. And financially also, I think before, like when we got married, I wasn't I'd just come off a sabbatical and I'd just started working and stuff like that. And it with the diabetes bit and stuff like that, it turned into like a bit of slight shared financial thing. And even now Sanit is like, let me get some of my medicines, and I'm just like, no, not right now. So that way it's quite like well balanced between the two of us. And yeah, it's quite normal, so as to say. It's like any other relationship and any other marriage. And even when it comes to food etc, we looked at it in a way that I came from a predominantly vegetarian background, and Sunneith was a hardcore non-vegetarian person. And anyway, when a vegetarian and non-vegetarian get married, kitchen में थोड़ा ये थोड़ा वो ऐसा करके we try to figure out a few years later about how we can have like something similar, and it took a while for that sort of adjustment, but we never looked at it in the sense of a person living with diabetes and a non-diabetic adjusting. It was just two people who came from like different food lifestyle sort of like coming together. I would want to say, I think we were discussing this.
Yeah.
A lot of Sunny's late nights and a lot of partying has actually stopped because I am just like 12 o'clock. I am hitting bed. You do what you want to. I'm just gonna go sleep. So after that, I think like started becoming a sort of an early bird and early sleeper now. But yeah, we'll see a few more years to fully change him, I think.
But like you said, like
Good one,
it's
good
not more in
one.
terms of adjusting between a person with diabetes and not diabetes, uh, and it's more of like two people who come together with different experiences, like different upbringings, different family backgrounds. And like you said, like, and thanks for pointing that out, it's not more on that. And I know Gilmerio and we were having a discussion on the insurance as a couple part of it, so over to you.
Yeah, so basically, I think in terms of Nishtha's guidelines, though, actually are pretty perfect because we started doing this. I always have this same habit of creating lists, proper schedules that work. But couple of, I think maybe months now, I've realized that Sai also has lists now. So in the night, if she needs me to get something done, I get an SMS because we work different shifts actually. I get an SMS on WhatsApp and I'm like, okay, so these are tasks for me to do now. But she's following my entire proper list of actually, dividing and bifurcating work, dividing and conquering what we need to do, or who's cooking what. So that's something else that the two of us also do. Like, we also came from very different food backgrounds, technically. So I like a lot of continental food, more European kind of cuisine, and Sai is more for the Indian food and those aspects. But
So I've given up on my chapati and rice for him so that saving your carbs.
so yeah, so we're on a lower carb diet now, so that actually helps. Where she's found alternatives. So I think I saw one of the comments also asking about dessert or how that's split. And Sai just tried a really new recipe with making pancakes
Yeah, I
with
was just gonna
stevia.
come.
So they turned out amazing, to be honest, and I think she substituted the wheat as well for something. That's her recipe.
Bad.
So it's amazing, and I was surprised at how good that tasted with no spikes in my sugar at all. And I was like, wow, this cooking is really looking good on you, babe, because she used to not cook a lot earlier,
Yeah.
and now
You
she's
can't
like.
just say it and not share the recipe, by the way, you guys. So
Yeah, yeah, you
Yeah, you
should
can.
say you should share that.
Yeah. So
It's you can add whatever atta you want to, oatmeal, jowar, bajra, any atta works, any atta instead
and
of maida. Yeah.
so it's just been good. But it's like for your question for insurance and things like that. So something that I've always believed, not just being diabetic, but most of us with jobs, we have this mentality that our companies cover and provide us insurance. So we are always dependent on that insurance per se. And since you touched base on this topic, Snehal, what I want to say is, you need to go ahead while you're younger. It's always better, but as you're older as well, make sure you have your own personal insurance that you've taken up. How this helps is every year, even though you're not claiming it, you still have it and something that you're paying for. So your premium does reduce over a period of time. You're not paying as well, your no claim bonuses, things like these pile up, they add up. And the advantages, God forbid, you lose your job in the future, something happens. You don't want there to be a blockage for your medical condition. You need to plan for this, not just for diabetes, for any medical condition. You need to have this ready just so that in the future, if you ever need to, you still have your own lifeline, like your own saving for that, as well as your companies. Of course, you can always use your company's insurance. They probably give you better perks, better benefits, but have this handy. And that's something Sayi and me both believe in. Like, we've applied for it. Make sure we have our own insurances just in case it's a rainy day, something comes up. Make sure that we got those in order.
but we face difficulties in getting a
Oh
term
yeah.
insurance, which we have still not gotten for
Yeah, so we are
diabetes.
waiting for a term insurance. I've been trying to get one for myself, but being a diabetic, that's usually something that pops up in some places. HDFC doesn't support that plan really. They have more market related plans, or the next option is you take a plan for your partner. So it's insured on your partner's name, but you're paying the premium.
Yeah.
But that again works like a tax saver, doesn't really benefit your partner if something happens to you. So that is something maybe the Indian market needs to work on, I guess. So yeah.
True, true. Thanks for touching base on insurance because we know, like, married or not married, insurance is a must, I would say. And definitely, other than your employer's insurance, it's always a good idea to have your insurance of yourself, and especially if you're living with diabetes. And we have a very interesting discussion on insurance as well. Like, you can go ahead and search in the group or on YouTube, and you'll find that 1 hour of discussion on insurance in India that cover diabetes and everything about that. So thanks, Gilmerio and Sai. Over to you, Rinkal and Hemal. What does your daily life looks like?
Yeah. Thankfully, since we are into an arranged marriage and we belong to the same community, same lifestyle, same food habits, so we didn't have to adjust too much in terms of food habits as such. But yeah, obviously after being diagnosed of diabetes, the things have changed, and they've changed for good. Like I said, it's a blessing in disguise if your partner is diabetic, because then the whole the you know what to do to avoid yourself being diabetes. So those have changed. And yeah, like Sunneith said, a lot after getting married, you need to make those little adjustments any which ways. So it's not like सब कुछ खत्म हो गया, अभी शादी हो गया, ये हो गया, वो हो गया, but it's things change for good, you know and we need to follow those changes, because lifestyles have changed. Obviously our food habits, what our ancestors used to uh,
Follow.
follow, we've been following blindly that. But then we need to see that the lifestyles have also changed. A lot of our ancestors were able to digest oily food, ghee wala food, because they used to go and toil in farms, and they were very hardworking. Obviously, we don't have to hard work, put in so much of a hard work. It's more of a smart work as such. So we need to any which ways change our food habits,
Yeah.
according to our physical activities as such. So it's been a blessing in disguise. And yeah, even being a non-diabetic couple, as you age, as you go ahead in life, you need to make those subtle changes, taking into consideration your own physical capabilities as such. So it's a good thing, I would say. uh, Coming to the financial part, yeah, like Gilmerio
Yeah.
said, you need to have, it's a compulsion to have a personal insurance as such. uh, we to completely depend on that, because we are not into any corporates as such, we are self-employed. So that one particular expense of having a family insurance is always there on us. uh, uh, like Gilmerio and Sai, we are also looking out for term insurances which we've not been able to locate as such. uh, God knows why these people make diabetes such a big thing. uh, so yeah, but then there are ways, like you can go for an accident, you can at least cover
But there's
yourself for an you know pardon.
yeah, the comments coming up on insurance in the comment section. So maybe after the video, we all can just go through that. Like, people are giving their feedback on what insurance is there and what they have taken. So definitely.
Oh,
Oh,
good
Yes,
that
but
way.
I think we are running short of time now. But definitely, like, I know this, we would probably need 1 more hour of discussion with all our three wonderful couples here.
Yeah,
But
that's
thank you
very
so much,
true.
guys, for joining us, especially to all of you for sharing your stories, sharing your personal journeys with us. It was wonderful to have this discussion with you all, and thank you to all the audience here as well who have joined us as usual on a Sunday evening. Um, But yes, and also, like, before we close, at Blue Circle Diabetes Foundation, we also have a Facebook thread chat, wherein you can add in your sort of bios if you're looking for potential partners. So go ahead and use that. I think the link is already there in the chat section, so you can use that also. We have a couple of couples who met on the group, and they are happily married now, so you can probably take inspiration from that. But thank you so much, guys, for joining us, and it was a lovely discussion. And I think we'll see you all on next Sunday again with another interesting topic.
Sure.
Thanks, Snehal. Thanks,
Thank you.
everyone.
Thank
Thanks
you,
for having
everyone.
me.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye.
guys. Nice
Thank
meeting you all.
you.
Meet you all.
You too.